Hi, guys. Welcome to Inner Masculine Live Inner Game Group episode 20, another fun filled, fact filled show. I'm Ryan Fowler, Inner Masculine, here with Jordan Kurtz and Tim Costello. Introduce yourselves, guys. We have a good one today.
Hello, I'm Jordan Kurtz. I recently got a Twitter, so go follow me on Twitter. Trying to blow that up.
The Twitter.
My social media marketing presence.
You mean you got an X?
Yay, Elon.
Yes, X, Twitter. I'm not really sure. Is it officially
X.
X, people?
It's X.
Until that catches on, it's going to be Twitter. So maybe give it a year, and I'll call it X. But
all right, cool.
Yeah.
So my name is Tim Costello, and I pretty much know it all because I have been married to the most fabulous woman for 40 years this year. But besides that, I help you get to know yourself better by removing your subconscious trauma and functioning better in life.
All right. And I am Ryan Fowler, innermasculine.com. And today we're going to talk about dirty fuel. We're going to talk about how trauma in certain instances can actually propel people to great heights, but then they struggle in many ways. And this is a really interesting episode. This is a former Delta Force operator, and he's also the producer of a hit TV show. I don't know if I think they're done, but it was a hit in the time called SEAL Team. So Hollywood executive, SEAL Team Delta Force operator. And he's very honest about, he just tells it like it is about how his low feelings of self-worth propelled him forward. And I talk about this type of motivational archetype in my ebook, innermasculine.com/free-ebook. You just go there, pop in your email. You can get the ebook, no charge at all. In fact, there's a way at the end of the ebook. There is a link if you wish to book a one-on-one 30-minute consult with me. Get the ebook. You'll see a way to do that, no charge. So a lot of good info there. And in the ebook, it's about a 1 hour read. It's just really dense. Just here's how your subconscious works and why it keeps you stuck. Here's how the subconscious develops in childhood. What is a subconscious program? How does it affect you? Carl Jung says 95%. Sorry, he didn't say that. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But other scientists have said 95% of our behavior is determined by our subconscious mind. The first thing to do is to get an understanding of how it is affecting your life. And that's what the ebook does. And this ebook talks about dirty fuel. It talks about 3 motivational archetypes. Number 1 is pursuing pleasure. Number 3 is avoiding pain. Number 2 is you pursue success to avoid pain. In this case, toxic shame, feelings of low self-worth. You've seen this in Marilyn Monroe. You know, I give these examples over and over. Robin Williams, Marilyn Monroe, Kurt Cobain. But there's just so many others. You can see this with Will Smith, with Chris Rock. They talk about their childhood after that Academy Award incident where, you know, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and they talk about their childhood and things that happened in their childhood. And you will see these very highly motivated people. It's a minority of people, but they feel they can get what they want. They feel they can make it big, and yet they feel low or no self-worth. And so they tell themselves, I'm going to do all this great stuff, and when I do, then I'll be good enough, and it never works. And they talk about it in this clip today. It's a really great clip. They have some really good insights. The thing is, this toxic shame is a huge plague on humanity. It just is. It messes so many people up. It's at the core of addiction. It's at the core of most types of procrastination, self-sabotage, perfectionism. That's at the core of so many things, and it's the number 1 thing we fix. We don't just fix it, but we replace it with the best core subconscious beliefs. Deep down unconditional self-love, belief in your ability and value, that if someone rejects you, it doesn't make you a reject, that if you fail, it doesn't make you a failure. Those who fail the most end up succeeding the most because they're trying the most. And that's a true statement. That's how reality is. But a lot of people feel, well, I failed, it means I'm a loser. It's like, no, Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times, kept moving forward, and then he succeeded because he didn't have that belief. You can read his statements. So this is what all of us here work on. And we're just going to show you how important all this core stuff is, because this guy, former Delta Force operator, is just really laying it out. And
shout out to Casey in the chat. He recommended this video to me, and I watched it, and I thought it was great. Perfectly applicable to the themes we talk about. So thank you, Casey.
So he should get a producer credit right below the executive producer, Jordan.
Yep.
Yeah, and P-Dubs, appreciate your comment. We screwed up last time. We didn't end the stream correctly. So that video is taken down. It's being edited, and then we're re-uploading it with the extra ending stuff not on there. So,
did we say something like behind the scenes that we weren't?
No, well, it was yesterday, me and Teresa, and I thought I had to end broadcast, and it didn't end, and then we talked for a few minutes more, and so yeah, well, duly noted, P-Dubs. Thank you, sir, and I appreciate P-Dubs. He's like red pill up, thumbs up on pretty much every single video that comes out, so I appreciate you, P-Dubs. So, Casey James, good afternoon to you, sir. So we'll go ahead and play the clip, but Jordan or Tim, do either of you want to set this up anymore? Say anything that I haven't said already?
Watch
go ahead, Jordan.
Language. The body language. You see it. At least I saw it from we're going to play it at like 55 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to start.
I saw his body language like the first frame of the video. Just watch. Just pay attention.
So one of the things I want to say is I started watching this clip. I was probably about 15, 20 minutes in. And I noticed the tremendous, which is amazing to say about a guy like this, because he's quite frankly a war hero.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendously insecure method of communication, telling stories. I mean, you can tell that this fella is really struggling, sad, and the things he's gone through. So a little bit of his background, Tyler Gray is his name, 17-year veteran of the Army, and he was in the top part of the elite forces called Delta Force. And he was medically retired at 17 years because, quite frankly, his arm got crushed and he could no longer perform at that level that's required. They did fix him up. They put him into civilian world, and he went to Hollywood, and he's had a good time since. Man, I would love to get involved with this fella and help him heal himself even further. Could be pretty exciting. But you can tell a lot just from the method of the way he speaks, but he says a lot of solid information that reaches into the subconscious.
Yeah, he is not holding back. He's completely authentic, which I love.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, I'll do a session for you, bro, because I know I can rock his world. I just, I know what we do. It's what people are looking for. And I have a video I produced, but it has copyrighted music on it, so I need to put in royalty-free music. I'll upload it. It's pretty powerful. I mean, it's showing just lives being changed, like life after life after life being like massively changed. Tim, we did that for your wife, Jordan. You're in this video I'm talking about. I'll put royalty-free music on it and upload it here, and you said it changed your life, because it has. It's changed my life. It's really interesting how where you just learn to accept your ability and value, that the real authentic you is the best part of you. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's what makes you a unique human being. Yes, you do have something. The unique part of you has something to contribute to this planet. And when you get that in your core, it changes everything. And this guy needs it like, holy crap, does he need it? So hey, if you guys want to contact him, any of you guys watching this, and say, hey, you should do a session with Ryan, he's going to be contacting you, or already has, because let's change the world. I'm on a mission to change the world. I'm scheming now. I have schemes with my, I have some successful partners, multimillionaires, and we're scheming. How can we change the world with this? And we're making progress. So, we'll see what happens. But, man, he needs it. Everyone needs this, really. Pretty much everyone. So here we go. We're going to watch this clip. So go ahead, Tim.
I said pretty much everyone, some more than others.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. And this is Tyler Gray. He's a Hollywood producer of the show SEAL Team and former Delta Force operator. Here we go. This is juicy stuff, man. He just lays it out.
Choose relationships that were not good for me because the girl was super attractive. And now, knowing what I know, that attractiveness was a trophy to give me self-worth in other people's eyes.
What led you to find this discovery? I mean, how did you?
That one specifically?
Yeah.
A lot of failed relationships.
Well, not that one specifically. And what gave you the epiphany that you know that you're worth something now? I think a lot of people struggle with this, myself included. And none of the other shit that you're talking about, the money, the fame, and none of the trophies.
I'm going to offer a session for this guy, Sean Ryan
just gonna
Show. He
say,
says he struggles
They both
too.
did. They
Dang.
both did.
Everybody
The
does.
house.
Many people. I don't, but I used to massively. You know, we fixed it.
Well, none of that shit fucking works. That's why when you're talking about A-list actors and actresses, it doesn't matter what the fuck you have. If you don't internally know that you're worth something, then you always have that fucking feeling of worthlessness.
Absolutely. And there's an example, because everyone knows this person. There's an example, the opposite of what you just said, which is that person everyone's met in their life who is level 10 confident for no fucking reason at all. Everyone knows that person.
That's key.
And you're like, but
That's key right there, Ryan.
And well, is
So
that
here-
true?
Hear
Go ahead.
what he said. Hear what he said. Somebody who has nothing but has confidence through the roof. So by
It's a belief
society
system.
standards,
It's not reality. It's a belief system.
yeah, by society standards, we have to have stuff in order to have worth. And what he just pointed out was this person had nothing, but had tremendous self-worth, which means one day they're going to have whatever they want, but that's not important. What's important was what he said, that this
Yeah, why is
person
he
who
so
you wouldn't
confident?
think had all that confidence had it.
Yeah, and when you say this person who has this big confidence one day will have whatever they want, that's true. But some people who are massively confident are like, you know what? I want a good woman, you know, a family, you know, kids, a decent job, making 60 grand a year, and I'm happy. And they go
Yep.
out and get it. And they have good, happy, productive lives filled with those they love and those who love them. And they're a force for good in the world. And then you have people
Bingo.
making millions of dollars who are freaking miserable. But there's also people that are confident, really believe in their ability and value. And they're like, you know what? I want to change the world. You know what? I want to make a big difference in the world.
Yep.
And they're coming from a place where they do have this good self-belief, not this toxic, dirty fuel. And guess what? They go out and they change the world.
Yep.
It's
Now-
you don't all have to want the same thing. You don't all have to want a Bugatti and, you know, Lambo and stuff like that. You know, screw that. If you want it, great, go for it. You know, I used to have a Porsche 911 Turbo. I thought it was awesome. I don't have one now, and I'm totally cool with that. If you want it, great, but it's not what the world says you want. It's what you want.
So Casey James points out something in the chat there. He says, yeah, a lot of these military guys on his show are really in bad shape. He actually brings up a little bit later on, Casey, as you know, and others will find out here in this clip or in this show, or what if they watch the clip, is that he links PTSD to childhood trauma. And that's exactly where it stems from. There are other tragic events that happen that will bring up some type or level of subconscious childhood trauma and be exacerbated. So that's why a lot of military guys who have seen and been through some tragic events seem messed up from the event, but it actually comes from before that.
Okay.
I'll also add, notice how he's constantly going like this. And he's
looking for threats, right?
Yeah, but that's constant. He's gonna keep doing that the entire interview.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's-
trauma right
that-
there, man.
Right. That's the physical. We talk about feel it in their body, right? The body doesn't lie. Like it's
Body
that's-
keeps the score.
there.
Yeah.
The body keeps the score. You see it immediately how he's talking about. He's fidgeting with his hands. He's looking around, like you said, looking for threats. This is indicators of the broken subconscious mind.
Yeah, now they
Yeah.
later talk about PTSD. It's really, really, really super insightful because they're talking about how what happens with a lot of people is they have childhood trauma and then they go through adult trauma and it massively amplifies the childhood trauma, but
Yeah.
the trauma was already there. So I've seen that all the time. Go ahead.
One more thing about this, it gives me hope that they're using the same language that we use.
Yes.
They like this clip is something any of us could have said on our show. Like it comes from internal, like they almost are using the exact same language. So to me, that's a good sign that people are starting to recognize that it does all come internal.
This is a huge universal experience. Some people have it a little and some have it to an extreme amount. But
if we're going to build this movement of using hypnosis to fix the inner world, this kind of stuff is important because the more people realize, oh, it is internal. Then the next step is, how do I fix it? And then here we are.
And CBT is so inadequate at doing that. I'm sorry. It does it help? Yes. Takes forever. And it for most people, for a lot of people, it doesn't help at all. You know, there was this meta study done and they found out CBT at most helps half of people with mild to moderate depression, which is one of the things it's best at helping with. At most half. And they say it's the gold standard. It's like, are you kidding me? That's the freaking gold standard you have? Come on, guys. Come on.
That's all they got.
It's all they got because they ignore other stuff out there that's better, and shame on them for that. Now, I know a lot of the CBT or just kind of the people, the therapists doing it at a base level may not know any better, but they know better at the top. You know, we saw this Stanford psychiatrist, Stanford professor, who talks about hypnosis and how great it is. They have the data, they have the data, but they don't want to look at it, even though they know this stuff works. But whatever, they won't do it. We will. Fine, we'll do it.
You have a job, you're like thinking of like, what's it based on? Like you have nothing yet, their confidence is.
What's it based on? It's based on, as a child, your mom and dad loved you and you felt that love and you drew a belief as a child. My parents treat me like I'm amazing. I'm awesome. I'm precious. I must be awesome, amazing, precious. And they grow up with that confidence because that becomes a subconscious program and it's an internal thing. It is at most temporarily affected by external things, at most, if at all. Sometimes temporarily, sometimes. And that's what he's talking about. Where does this come from? He has nothing. It's like, well, look at his childhood compared to yours. You'll see. Go ahead.
What I think is cool is that why he might be open to doing hypnosis is that he's already done a lot of this analysis. He's laying it out like the way we would lay it out, which I think is really cool because he's recognizing these really important concepts. And so I think that's so cool. I know he still needs help, but people are starting to realize this stuff. This is a universal experience. This is not niche. This isn't like, this is going to become massive. It's exponentially, it's like a snowball. It's going to keep rolling down that hill until everyone knows about it. So that's all I want to add.
All right, let's keep going.
Sky high. You can talk anyone into anything, and like everyone knows in their lifetime at some point that person that you're just like, what's your confidence based on?
Isn't that funny how it's like we know someone, but it's rare. They look at this as rare. Where that's how few people have like really good childhoods.
And now I know self-worth. That's it. For me, I mean, quite honestly, and again, I mean, not to. But the first thing was I had to obviously realize that I didn't have self-worth. You can't fix a problem, obviously, that you don't know is there. And it took a long time before I realized what the actual problem is. And I would personally, I feel like, especially with veterans, especially, I think so many of the things that are talked about and all these things, PTSD, but all this stuff, personally, my feeling, I feel like a lot of it's symptoms.
Bingo.
And I think the diseases were almost all formed in childhood.
Yeah. Yep.
Right there.
That's the
He's
nuclear
dead, but-
explosion.
Yeah, that's the nuclear. And this is a guy, he's
Boom.
wounded, he's maimed. You look at his arm, he's been maimed and wounded in war. He's seen heavy combat. And he's like, it starts in childhood. It gets amplified by war
Right.
or other trauma as an adult, but it's already there. And the guys who go through these extreme circumstances and they're much less affected, it's because they don't have that trauma in them, But honestly, the majority of people have at least some trauma. Trauma isn't like, it's kind of like a bell curve. You have a few people with very little to no trauma. You have a few people with extreme trauma and a bunch of people in between. That's how it is. And even if you have a moderate amount, your life will be so much better without it and with good subconscious programs to replace it. And that's what we do. And we just see people take off all the time, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Like self-confidence, I think self-confidence or self-worth is a massive issue. And again, make a statement for most veterans that I've come into contact with. But it's not, you don't go to a psych and they go, so let's talk about your self-worth issue. What happened in combat that made you sad? They start talking about fucking stupid shit. But I mean, it's not
exactly. That's freaking CBT. Come on. What the hell, guys?
Let's
stupid,
talk about it.
It's
sorry. They're trying. The therapists are trying. They went to a university and said, well, I guess the university knows. And then the university teaches them a methodology that, the big pharma is okay with, which is less effective.
It gives them the money.
So let's do therapy and then get you on the big pharma.
That's it.
As opposed to let's just fix you and now you don't need big pharma,
It's not the root.
It's not the root, It's not the root. And
The root.
the root is
Root.
Yeah, we know
Right
what the root
there.
is.
Root-
We fix it all the time.
Root
We fix it all the
cause
time.
analysis.
We fix
Root
it all the
cause
time. And
analysis. That's what we're doing.
typically one session, big improvement. Doesn't mean we fix everything, but big improvement. No, it can be life-changing, oftentimes life-changing, one session.
Just so everybody understands what he's talking about there is he mentioned about let's talk about how you felt in war. Let's felt about how this tragic event that you went through, that's doing nothing but clipping at the grass. We're just sort of going to talk about it. We're going to clip it down a little bit. We're going to cope with it a little bit. We're going to give you some drugs to help you cope with it, et cetera, et cetera. But the other guy said, but that's not the root. That is prophetic in response, in that he's indicated this guy, you got to get to the root somehow. We help you get to the root.
Yeah, and let me kind of explain the mechanics of what a little more under the hood of what's actually going on. In childhood, we form beliefs about ourselves, others, the world around us. The most powerful beliefs that affect our behavior the most have feelings attached to them. So the subconscious programs we work with, the ones that affect behavior to the greatest degree, are beliefs tied to feelings. And if as a child you have a feeling, if I fail, it means I'm a failure. You get that belief, and then when you fail, you feel bad. Then you go to war, you make a mistake and your buddy gets killed. Think how much that's going to amplify that traumatic belief that's in you. Look, I failed, and not only did I fail, my buddy got killed. Or there are children who grow up feeling not good enough for their parents, and in reality, there's nothing they can do. Their parents are messed up. The parents neglect them because the parents are messed up. The parents beat them, yell at them, whatever, because the parents are messed up. But as children, we idealize our parents. I won't go into the details for that. I've done it many times, other times in the show. We idealize our parents, and we need to feel that they want and love us. And when parents treat kids like that, usually the kids feel, oh, it must mean I'm not good enough. I failed somehow. So you go to war and your buddy gets killed, and it's not your fault, but you blame yourself just like you blamed yourself for why your parents treated you the way they did. It's essentially the same thing. A bad thing happened. It must be my fault. I'm at fault. If you have that belief in you from your childhood, and then really bad things happen in war, it takes that trauma, boom, knocks it up to the 10th degree. That's the root. That's what they're talking about. Any comments, guys? If you don't have that original
Yeah.
belief system there, you'll be like, oh, it's just war. It wasn't my fault. But if you have that belief system when bad things happen, hey, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it is my fault. That has to be there to really get screwed up. Go ahead.
This is why our content, the show, is important, because we have far too many people who have been so underserved by therapists, by counselors who just don't have the tools that they need. This is this is the real pandemic. is toxic shame. And I mean, he goes into about the veterans. All these people, they don't even want to go to therapy because
I'll be a pussy if I go to therapy. I'm not a man if I go to therapy.
It's not just that,
suck it up.
He has seen other people who have gone to therapy, and he's like, I don't want to just go talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
If that's the experience that all these people are having, like, that's a huge, how are we not, like, that's outrageous to me. But that's all that exists in their minds. That's why we need to get this out to the open for people like veterans. I mean, I think everybody, but veterans are a very clear example of people who are being so underserved by these therapists. And that's sad to me, but I also see that as an opportunity to grow this,
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff that we can do.
And I praise this guy's authenticity. He's just keeping it so real here. And it takes courage to keep it real like this, man.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
He's a rock star for keeping it real. We did a session on vulnerability, and there are people in the red pill who say, oh, vulnerabilities for pussies, you should never this, that. And yeah, maybe there's some things you don't communicate to your wife because maybe, whatever, she'll, lose respect, or I don't know, whatever. But this guy's being 100% vulnerable here. He's just keeping it real. Is he a pussy? Is he a loser? No, he's a freaking, probably a multimillionaire. He was a producer for SEAL Team, which is a hit TV series, and a freaking Delta Force operator. He's just keeping it honest, So
I want to throw in something there about authenticity. There is nothing that you can't securely and within a masculine manner.
Yeah, is he being feminine here?
No, you're reading me wrong. There's nothing that you can't tell your wife. If there is something that you feel you can't tell your wife, then you're putting on a show. You're not being authentic with the person that you're supposed to love, which means you'd almost expect her to also not be authentic towards you.
Very true.
Let me tell you, in 40 years of marriage, there's nothing my wife doesn't know about me. Nothing. And she probably knows me better than I know myself sometimes.
Yeah, and you guys I think you and Carrie have one of the best marriages I know. I mean, you guys just genuinely like each other,
and thank you for that. But the reality is, as I think, and even her more now, she's even more authentic than she was before, because now I know more about how she was raised and how Ryan helped her overcome some of the things that were keeping her stuck that I can't help her with. I mean, you don't do this stuff on your spouse. But we're just lucky. And again, I was just attracted to her butt.
She's a great lady. Carrie's a great lady.
When she was 22 years old, working at PepsiCo in Purchase, New York, and I was sitting there waiting I drove down from the submarine base, and I came around her cubicle, and there she was standing there reaching up on something. I thought, woo, nice butt.
Yeah.
But anyway, on to bigger things. Authenticity is key. So if you appreciate this on authenticity to this guy here, there's absolutely nothing he's not saying. And he's struggled for a long time. And he's, quite frankly, right now, begging for more answers.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try and give it to him. So
P-dubs that booty.
We're going to do what we can.
Tyler, if you're watching this, reach out. We got you.
We got your back. We will get you better, my man. Oh, that booty. Yeah. All right. Spark 55 in the house. Pete
Hey,
up.
Spark.
Longhold fam. Casey. All right. Welcome, guys. All right. Let's keep going.
I didn't go to college. Like, I have no formal education. I don't know how I graduated high school, to be honest with you. I hate school. I can't do it. But I can see what's self-evident. And again, going back to the parents, like, all right, 2 + 2 + 2 equals, it's you meet enough people that have the same problem and you start to put together patterns. But once I figured out that self-worth was a major issue for me, then I was like, all right, well, how do I go about fixing it? And the short answer is it's really just about, and again, there's probably 1,000 books on the subject, but it's really just about reprogramming your subconscious.
Bingo.
And the reason I say that is because
Boom, baby.
Do we got to say anything there?
What?
Do we even need to say anything
He
there?
already
Nope.
said it. He's
He
our
just
commercial.
said it.
You just
He
said
just said
how
it.
did it get programmed in the first place?
Bingo. Again.
Oh,
Probably back.
Yeah, we don't even need to skip around. It's just nonstop truth bombs here.
Yep.
we should have him
or
on our
actions,
show.
But you know what I
Go
mean?
back
It's not
10
like
seconds, Ryan.
wasn't more.
What's that?
Go back 10 seconds, would you?
All right.
I think we hit the.
How did it get programmed in the first place? Probably by words or actions, but you know what I mean? It's not like wasn't more than just words or actions. So I think because of that, it's relatively logical to say that it can be reprogrammed from words and actions.
So is that what you did? You reprogrammed, or did you? Was there something that?
No,
happened,
I'm still reprogramming. And
Yeah, he still needs stuff because he doesn't have the full picture. And let me explain something, guys. There are actually 3 parts of our brain. There's the cerebral cortex. That's where a lot of the high functioning, dreams, cognitive thought processes, creativity, a lot of things like that come from that. But then there's the limbic system. That's where fight or flight or freeze is. That's where our emotions are. That's where our gut instinct comes from. Instinct, intuition, all that is there. And 95% of our behavior is determined by our emotions. Every salesperson, I used to be a salesperson a long time ago, and I was a sales trainer a long time ago, like 20 years ago. And all the sales trainers, people buy on emotions. Well, guess what? People make decisions largely on emotions. And then they try and work with your thought processes to reprogram the emotional part of your brain. The emotional, intuitive, instinct part of your brain is a different part of your brain than the cerebral cortex. So and this is a big flaw in CBT. I'm going to use my cerebral cortex to fix my limbic part of my brain. And it's like, no, go directly to the limbic part of the brain and work directly on it. You don't fix a car's engine by working on the brakes, And because our brain's connected and the latest neuroscience shows that we have a massive nerves and neurons in our gut, our second brain, and if you have bad gut health, that will actually affect your mood, and you can have brain fog and other issues. So it's all connected. One part of your body, one part of your neuron processing, whether it's the second brain in your gut or nerves. There's neurons on your heart processing data. There is neurons on your heart. They found it. It's neuroscience. It's all connected. They all influence each other. But if you want the biggest results, you work on the part that needs fixing. And so he's saying thoughts and actions. Well, he doesn't quite get that. It's a subconscious program, the ones that have the big impact in our lives and decision-making. It's beliefs based on our interpretation of what happens to us as children tied to feelings. You got to work straight on those beliefs and feelings. You actually work on them both, and you do it in a way where you're focused on that part of your brain. That's what hypnosis does, is it focuses on that part of your brain so you can work on it directly. It puts it in a receptive state. That's what he doesn't get. That's what we get. That's why we get huge results. I mean, just watch all the testimonials in my all the client interviews in the video section of, we got. And Tim, you had a client did $50,000 worth of therapy, and you did one session. What happened? What did he tell you?
He says, "Man, I never felt this good. It's gone. It's gone." I just followed up with
50,000 of other therapy didn't do that. You did it one session.
Yep.
Boom.
And he was also very hesitant about. In fact, his point was, "I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Are you sure you can hypnotize me?" And I said, I've not been unable to hypnotize anybody yet. And man, he went right down and right in, and he was super playful in the whole session. He was well aware of what was going on, but he was just relaxed. And we just unloaded rocks out of his backpack, and now he's doing better.
Yeah. And actually what we do works without hypnosis. If you can feel the feelings, you can get benefit without hypnosis. It's a technique that's more important than being in a hypnotic state, but hypnosis enhances the effectiveness because it just puts you in a more receptive state where, but really the most important part is to feel the feelings that's tied to the trauma, because that's connecting you to the subconscious belief when you're feeling it. You're connected to the bad program in you when you're feeling the feeling tied to that belief. And then we can work on it and get it out. So that's actually the most important part, not am I hypnotized or not. But in hypnosis, it helps amplify that and remove some barriers that makes what we do more effective. But hypnosis is like a canvas, or it's like a medium. Oh, am I doing watercolors, or am I doing oil or pastel or charcoal? Yeah, it's like, okay, hypnosis is like I'm doing oil paintings, as opposed, it's kind of more like just the medium. The actual techniques or the picture you paint depends on the actual techniques,
Yep, it's just a platform that we use.
Yeah, hypnosis is an extremely broad term, and you can help people with the, you don't even need to induce hypnosis. If you get them connected to the feelings, you can help them right there. But hypnosis enhances it. All right, so we'll keep going.
And I'll add one more thing.
Yeah.
He said, I've been trying to reprogram it. What he's been trying to do is work on his conscious mind to reprogram it.
Yeah.
But what he needs to do, and what we do, is work on your subconscious mind through hypnosis. That's the missing link. He's saying all the right stuff. He gets it. He's saying all the right stuff. The missing link is you got to do it in hypnosis.
Yeah, and so many. Go ahead.
Like that. That's the key.
Yeah, so many neuroscientists, psychologists, they understand the what and the why. They don't understand the how. How do we fix it? Well, I mean, their stuff works to a point, but they don't really understand the how.
Yep.
And that's the missing link. That's where, I searched for decades to find the solution to fix my manic depression. Found it. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so freaking powerful. So now we're showing people the how.
And actually, that's a critical point. At what years does that develop? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. How long does it develop over? I don't know. But I can tell you that at this point, knowing what I know, I don't think something like that is a. I don't think it's a fix. I think it's maintenance.
How many people depend on you? Do you have any idea?
I don't think anyone really.
Nobody?
Like,
you're the fucking producer of SEAL Team.
Oh,
you're a director of
no,
SEAL Team.
Well, that's work. I mean,
that's your life. How many people depend on you?
I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Your business partner, does he depend on you?
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I came to the realization for that made me realize, holy shit, I am worth something. I got married. My wife depends on me. My son depends on me. My employees, I built a business. My employees depend on me. People that watch this show to get help, like this segment right here, is going to help a lot of people depend on this. And once I realized, holy shit, people actually fucking depend on me for their liveliness, then I started to realize maybe I am worth something. If people depend on me for the livelihood, then you're fucking worth something.
No, I mean, I've never thought of it that way. It makes total sense.
But that's not why you're worth something. He's mixing that stuff up. He's mixing that worth up.
Yeah, and
he does
You know,
have value, and other people are depending on him for their livelihood.
the problem there is if you make a mistake and let him down, like
Right.
in
Now you're
war,
a
you make a
failure.
mistake, your buddy gets killed. Now you're like, I'm a piece of crap.
Yep.
So these people, the people they talk about, oh, you know, that guy who has nothing, he has massive confidence. That belief system puts you in a position of great power. Yeah, he has nothing now. Maybe he doesn't want anything, but if he wants it with that belief system, you sure can freaking get it. So, unconditional self-love, unshakable belief in your ability and value puts you in an optimal place, because then if you make a mistake, and we're all human, everyone does it. Don't pretend like you never make mistakes, people. Don't pretend like you've never let anyone down. Everyone has, okay? So if you have the belief system he has, when that happens, you're devastated to some degree. You are devastated if you make a big mistake, and that's what happens in war. You make a little mistake, huge consequence. Or you didn't even make a mistake, but you think you might have, and you blame yourself. Your buddy died even though it wasn't your fault. You know, whatever. That it puts you on shaky ground. The belief systems we put in are the ones that serve you best. Don't think about what's right and wrong. Well, what's right is what is going to help you, help yourself, and help others the most. That's the philosophy I go by. So that's a belief system I put in people, and it is just straight facts. When you unconditionally love yourself, accept your ability and value, forgive yourself when you make mistakes, it puts you in a position to keep going even when you screw up, so that you can do the most good in the world for yourself and others. Because if you get devastated, you can't help anyone anymore. You're psychologically knocked out, at least for a while. You don't have that strength and resilience with that belief system that you otherwise could have with a more optimal belief system. Would you guys
Ryan,
agree?
Yep.
Yeah, Ryan, you can skip ahead about 10 minutes if you want.
Okay. We'll skip ahead. We'll kind of watch one more segment, and then we'll, watch another comment for another 10, 15 minutes, and we'll wrap it up. All right. So we are
About 112.
go to about,
112.
how about just the beginning of this, joining to save a version of himself? That's at 114.
I think 112 has more good stuff.
Okay.
I mean, we'll play through. I mean, it's about
Yeah, here we go.
it's on.
Well, that one's good. And so I just didn't really. I think the only thing I learned from my dad was to not be a mechanic or alcoholic. That's about it. And so I was just I wasn't encouraged or discouraged. I was just on my own. And
Didn't earlier he said he didn't have the worst childhood. Now he's kind of admitting his dad was an alcoholic,
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know if he's implying his dad was an alcoholic or his dad just told him not to be one. I don't know what he means by that, but obviously there's some trauma there.
So when I joined, when I was a kid, before I joined the military, I used to have dreams. And again, I'm assuming this is not normal, but I'd have dreams as a kid of being somewhere and saving people and dying. I'd have that dream all the time. And I used the word dream because it was a dream. It wasn't a nightmare. I wanted that.
Hero complex.
Yeah, tell our audience more about hero complex.
Yeah.
Or Jordan.
Well, I was going to say, the reason I flagged that part, because to me, what that says is, as a child, I'm really trying to, if I can save others, I can learn to save myself.
Or
And
if I
he
can
said-
save others, then I'm good enough.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of being worthless? Well, being a hero, being a savior.
Yeah.
I fantasize about that,
So his value that his subconscious was trying to create was a dream within him that would allow him to go be somebody else's savior, somebody else's Superman, somebody else's Batman, whatever, to do good, because he was so traumatized by, quite frankly, all of the tragic situation around him. So you generate, and there are some who actually create that hero so strongly, they start cosplaying it out. They start pretending they are that person. It becomes a real distraction. It's an addiction, a distraction to the subconscious trauma.
Yeah.
And because the part of this video that we didn't show, it was a little earlier in the whole video, but he talks about he, as like a 5-year-old, was trying to be the mediator between his two fighting parents. I don't think they were divorced, but they were just fighting a lot.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not a coincidence. When I'm going to be the person coming in to save my parents from arguing. And then he's having dreams about saving other people, but he's not classifying them as nightmares. He's saying that's just, I wanted to do this. I wanted to make the fighting stop. If I can be clever enough, logical enough, smart enough, whatever enough to make them stop fighting, I can save them.
Yeah.
Dream about that.
And kids, it's pretty normal for children, especially in less than ideal circumstances, to imagine these situations that kind of help them cope. As a kid, I played a lot of video games as a kid, and I would write stories, and I would do programming to try and create games to kind of put myself in these hero situations where I felt like I was worth something. So it's kids who cope, who have no friends, etc. They will go into these fantasy worlds. I mean, Robin Williams did that. It talks about that in the HBO documentary, Come Inside My Mind. He'd go into these, fantasy worlds, and it's a coping mechanism. Yeah. To help a kid who's otherwise in a bad situation survive.
Yep.
Later in life, I was like, fuck, I was fucked up. Now I look at it, and again, my kind of concept was, now, again, I could watch, certain things happen, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens probably blocks from here, but the one thing that I will go, I do not tolerate at all and will drive me crazy is stuff with kids.
Yeah.
You fuck with kids, like, I'll fucking burn your house down. Like, and why? I think I joined in a fucked up sense. I think I joined to try and save versions of myself.
Really?
I mean, in my head, I think that's because I always.
Yeah, 100%, man. And he knows what it's like to suffer. He's very aware of, traumatized childhood mess someone up the rest of their life. That's why he gets that way about kids. And it's instinctive too.
In this episode that he's got on the Sean's got on the page there, one guy wrote about a month ago, right after this one aired, he says, being a new father and listening to all these men with childhood trauma is putting a dump truck of pressure on my shoulders. Being a good father is so effing important. Couldn't be more clearer words that being a dad has to singularly be, I can't even say that word. Singularly be your mission. Forget about your hobbies, forget about your golf, unless your kids and you're teaching them to golf or whatever, but from 0 to 10 or 12 years old, they need to be your 100% focus for good. Teaching them, growing them, giving them confidence, letting them know they're safe and secure, letting them know that they belong to a solid, good unit. That is going to give them the foundation that this guy is now searching for and he wished he had. Now, the good thing is, using some inner child methodologies through hypnosis, we can go back to meet this inner child and marry up the older version of himself to the younger version of himself and let him know they're all there together.
Yeah,
so
I had a lot of
key,
trauma.
and
I fixed a massive amount. You can really, you can get way above average.
I love his jealous protection of children.
Yeah. He's a good human being. This guy's a good human being.
Yep.
And I'll say about children, you can't the goal of raising a kid is not to bubble wrap them and make them never have to face adversity. The goal, if you're a parent, is to instill a sense of value in them, that no matter what happens externally, you always have value. You are loved. You can have compassion. You are safe. And that is real, because you, as a parent, you're going to go crazy trying to control all the factors. You can't. It's impossible to control the factors. The best you can do is it's like how they have trees that, like, when they're raised in like a farm, they don't have as much, like, when they're exposed to wind, they just fall over. It's like you need them to be strong so that when the winds come, they can support themselves. And the way you do that is instilling in them, the same way we do in our clients, a deep subconscious sense of value, of I am good enough, I can protect myself, I am safe. That's the number one thing you have to do. If you can do that, they will become their own support system. That's what you really
money.
All right. Is there anything else worth watching?
Yeah, move to minute 16.
Minute 16. Okay. So we'll watch this comment and then wrap it up. Here we go.
Less word, but basically murder porn. They make a joke about all the, serial killer documentaries and every murder porn because people like watching it so much, like me. And I had just watched probably too many, and I was identifying with certain traits. I called my therapist. I'm like, I think I'm a sociopath. She goes, Tyler, the fact that you're worried that you're a sociopath means you're not a sociopath. And I was like,
it's true. Sociopaths never worry about it because
That's right.
Sociopaths partially or completely shut down every emotion except for anger. And because of that, and also that they do that to really disconnect from toxic shame. So they're completely disconnected from anything that would lead them to say that. Any guilt, any shame, they've totally disconnected from that, along with everything else but anger. They may feel emotion shallowly, but shallowly at most, except for anger. They can feel that full force.
That's fair. I'm like,
and that's because anger is empowering. All the other stuff they see as weak.
Okay, good. You got me. All right. Sorry. Talk to you later. But it's one of those things where, I definitely just think the way I saw it is, I don't care why you're doing that. Like, if you want to blow up kids, I don't care what your cause is. It doesn't matter. I don't care if right, wrong. None of that shit matters to me. The fact is, the way I view you is you're a malfunctioning robot and you just need to go away. You're not fixable. And some people are just malfunctioning robots.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think as a kid, I just developed the feeling of, like, still this day, like, dude, if I see a kid even alone, it fucks me up. Like, that'll make me really sad. Yeah. To the point, sad, quite honestly, I kind of have to avoid certain things because it's everywhere, and I'll just get trapped in that negative mindset.
Yeah.
Boy, he's got some resentment in there, doesn't he?
Well, that's a trigger because we have how our subconscious works. We develop these beliefs attached to feelings in childhood. As adults, anytime there's anything in the outside world that is a match for that belief, it spikes a feeling tied to that belief. So he sees a child all alone, probably reminded him of the pain he had all alone or whatever as a child, and it's triggering that.
Himself.
Yeah, the pattern is matched.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
and we do this all the time. We write out, what do you feel and believe deep down that causes you to struggle? We write it out, map it out, and just by reading it to the client, just read him a single paragraph, and all of a sudden he's like, oh man, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 pain. Yeah. And then now he's connected to the program, we can clear it. We just have to tell him what his belief is, and it spikes the feeling. But if you observe in the outside world, same thing. It works the same. Yep. That's he's getting triggered because it's in him. Yeah.
But like,
dude, that's a pretty deep. I mean, if you just look at like him actually having to go out of his way to avoid situations where he might see kids who are alone. Like, that's a deep program. Because
90% chance I could 100% fix that in one session.
oh
90%
yeah,
chance.
absolutely.
You guys
Interesting
should-
that he recognizes the pattern, has adapted a coping mechanism for that pattern to avoid it because he knows how it makes him feel.
Yep.
And again, like to Ryan said, either one of us, one session with this guy, that's gone.
Yeah.
And he'll know his true inner value.
Yeah. You know, he probably has a couple dozen things to fix, probably like a half a dozen major. And we would resolve 2 to 4 of those, probably 2 or 3 per session. So if he had like a half a dozen major, 2 or 3 sessions, they'd all be gone.
Yep.
And he'd be like, oh my God, what the hell did you just do to me? And then he'd have a great life, you know, much better life. I think his life in many ways is great, but he has stuff he's struggling with. Yeah. Okay. So, great show today. This stuff is real. I mean, this is, man, I don't know how else to say it. I appreciate this guy keeping it real because this is so much at the core of actually what many people struggle with, just different types of toxic shame based on their childhood, and it's getting, triggered, amplified by traumas later in life, etc. And there's a solution. And this is really showing, I mean, we can show more and more interviews like this. This is at the core of so many, what he's describing here is the core of so many issues people struggle with. And so many people struggle in this way, more or less. To everyone's story is a little different. It applies differently. Everyone has their own nuance, but this is core stuff, core to the struggle of humanity, So any final thoughts from you, Tim, you, Jordan?
Go ahead, Jordan, and I'll go last.
I think that, the title of this chapter is joining to save a version of himself, right? And I think that you're maximized, Ryan.
I know. I'm figuring it out. All right.
Okay. So I think, but that's pretty much what we do in hypnosis. Is it's called inner child work. Oh, that's a new one.
That's cool.
Oh, nice.
It's called inner child work. And you go back as the adult and you save the child. You provide to the child what they didn't have back then. And I find it really cool that a lot of the language that he's using in this video is really accurate to like how we would talk about it. I just find that that's so cool. We don't have to there's very little we have to reframe because he says it so well, and it's framed so well that this is the kind of way we need to be talking about these issues. Is we need to use this language because it helps people understand what's going on. So I think that's why this video was really cool for me, is because a lot of this, he's already done the analysis on himself. And it's really cool to see that coming from someone who's not a hypnotist, right? That he's coming up with these ideas on his own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the closing thoughts is this guy, I want to restate it, is a war hero. This guy has gone and done things that would make most of us sit in a corner in a puddle. Right. This is a beast of a human being, 100% respect. And along with that, tragically traumatized from day one because his mom and dad didn't start fighting when he became 5. They've been fighting since day one. They were fighting when he was in the womb, and his mother transferred those emotions into that fetus, that young baby that was growing. So this guy it's amazing he is where he is now as a veteran, as a war hero, as a producer, director, actor, all that kind of good stuff that he is, and recognizing through some probably pretty good thought therapy what's going on, but really nobody giving him the root cause analysis and the answer. Because like Jordan said, he's using all of the language that we use in every single show, if you go back, talking about childhood trauma, talking about patterns, talking about coping, talking about trying to understand. And he even said there's got to be a way to reprogram the subconscious. There is. So anybody who ever watches this show, if you have any of these feelings, and we'll name those 5 subconscious traumas again. One is you're not good enough. And you could throw 100 words behind that. But essentially, your self-esteem or self-worth is damaged. 2, you don't feel like you belong to something, someone, or some effort, even including yourself. You could actually feel not belonging to your own self. That's a key. The other one is that you don't deserve what you want, or should you achieve what you really want, you don't deserve it when you get it. So those are some real issues going on. The other subconscious trauma is that you don't feel safe or secure. And you can see how all 4 of these I just mentioned, and we'll get to the 5th in a second, that all 4 of these that I've mentioned are generated or are not generated by having a good set of parents, by the parents really taking ownership in raising their children and providing, like Jordan said, not a bubble, right? Not a bubble, but some decent wins as they grow to help them strengthen. You know, when I'm a master gardener by hobby, and I grew a bunch of tomato plants. The first time I grew a bunch of tomato plants, I saw all these seedlings coming up in my little tiny greenhouse in the house, right? And it was like, oh, cool, all my tomato plants are growing. 4 days later, they all fell over and died. And I went and did some research. Yeah, it was terrible. The research was, if they don't get wind when they're seedlings, they won't strengthen and develop the internal structures to continue to grow. I'm like, wow, what an analogy, right? Yeah. So, and then finally, so those 4 are generated by great children with great parents, right? Now, the 5th one is not so much trauma, but it prevents trauma from being removed. And that's any kind of trapped anger, rage, or resentment that you've got. So if you have any of those, not good enough, don't deserve it, don't belong, don't feel safe or secure, or you got some rage, resentment, or anger deep down that you can get rid of, we are part of your answer. Now, the other part of the answer that we're not is all the work that you have to do past what we do for you, so that you can strengthen the things that we did to keep those negative thoughts from creeping back in.
Yeah, I will show you. I like your house so much, I built my own just like
your house looks awesome, man.
Pretty dope. All right, so that's our show for today. Very interesting video. I say, guys, just go. I'll put the video link in the description in about 5 minutes. Guys, go watch the video. It's a great video, man. This dude keeping it real. So
thank you, Masculine Mindset, for jumping there at the end. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, so that's our show for today. You have more power than you know. You can fix all this stuff and take off. And man, this is the stuff we're working on is just such a universal issue. It can propel people to be very successful, but they still struggle in other ways. And you can actually get this stuff out and then become very successful. You can. Arnold Schwarzenegger's like that. I've shown analysis of Arnold where he's making comments and he was just chasing his dream. You can be someone just chasing your dream and get it. You don't need this I'm not good enough, low self-worth to fuel you. It can be used as fuel, but man, it's dirty fuel, and there's way, way, way better fuel out there. That's what we drive you towards. Get the good fuel. You are enough just as you are. You have massive value just as you are. You can get what you want. The more we do anything, the better we get until we get enough skill to get what we want. It's all true. Get that in your core. Everything changes. That's our show for today. You truly do have more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.